laws for survival. Because if you were doing certain things like had to be laws for survival. Because if you were doing certain things like stomp dancing or you were doing the traditional native things, years ago that's illegal. And actually just even today a lot of it's illegal because we still don't have what we call open freedom of religion compared to other people. And so a lot of those things went underground, but fortunately some of those people kept them alive. And a lot of these stories are coming back. So that's what the site's about. Doing that, getting all these people together, bringing in different artists, bringing in different storytellers, people from other tribes in the state. And when we get together, for some reason, we start telling stories. I had a story, and we were sitting down, Lori Ann and myself, Armando. You remember that night we all sat down and we started sharing stories?
Yeah.
It was that stomp.
Okay.
You remember that
Yeah.
night? We started talking, and we were like four people from 4 different tribes. Here. We'll do some of the same things that we do. And they'll tell you it's Cajun. What's so funny is that a lot of times it's not Cajun. Actually, we're so, what we call, exchanged with us so much, they actually pick got here, or the Spanish, or whatever got here, we like their jackets. Boy, especially the British. They had them red jackets. Oh man, the red jackets are cool. Especially when you think our name means red. Homa is red. You're gonna want one of those jackets. And if the French had a red jacket, it's like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll be your friend if you give me that jacket, basically. And once they find out we like their clothes and we like to trade with them, oh, they come. They give us their old officers' jackets, and our elders would wear those things and pass it down to their children. They were honored things. You cut the sleeves off of them sometimes because it's the South, but you decorate it in your fashion and make it strictly Homa or make it Choctaw or whatever you want to make it. I've had people look at the way I dress in time period 1700s. I wear a French jacket like this. I wear the coat, the clothes part of it. You can see it's strictly French, but then you see the native leggings and you see the Native American influence on the ornamentation that's on it, my hairstyle, and everything else, and the earrings. So that's Homa, or that's Choctaw, that's Mobilian. But you will see the clash of cultures. Not clash, but the combining of cultures. We basically were people that if you saw something you liked, you're going to use it. But you're going to make it yours, and yours, you make it unique. You're going to add your own touches to it. The tool that I used, axe here, was given to me. We traded for axes. I've got books that I've come across and documentation and even logs from the French when they came here to trade. I've got logs of all the items that were traded. When the Cajuns got here, we were more equipped with European things than they were equipped. We actually had sometimes better equipment, or European or French equipment, than some of what we call the poor French in France did. We had pewter that we would trade for. We had some real nice materials, some clothes, because the French came here. They wanted the deer hides. They wanted our food. They wanted this. They wanted that. They're going to trade us some real nice stuff for it, So when the French, what we call the immigrants came in, we were actually, some of our houses were outfitted better than they could ever think about outfitting their houses, because we had been trading for years with the French before a lot of the settlers started coming in, So this thing about people native in the 17 and 1800s in this area walking around just in loincloths and walking around naked and things like that, by the 1700s, you saw a big European influence, and you saw furniture, you saw flintlocks, you saw axes like this that were ours, but they were originally French. You saw things like this that this is European. Became native. You added your touch to it, but it became native. So you had this type of stuff. And this was a real neat one. I actually acquired this one from an Ojibwe man. The French and all the rest of the guys, they knew about our calumet, our pipe, and they knew we liked trading their axes. So some real wise guy that knew that if he come up with something real good to trade, he came up with this. This is actually a pipe axe. You got to figure, our pipe was an altar. It was a praying instrument. And the axe, we used it for all kinds of different things. The guy invented this as actually a pipe axe. And it worked. And it'd be like, if you put it in modern terms, a kid today's got to have Nikes, man. I mean, he has to have his Nikes. It's like he's got to show his Nikes off. He'll pay anything to get those Nikes so he can show his friends. This is the equivalent of the Nikes of the 1700s. And if a Native American had one of these, he'd show it off, man. And he'd trade deer skins and all kinds of stuff. Man, that was something really nice to have. And I got kids that sit in this area, and it's funny because they'll sit here and I said, all right, you like your Nikes, but who would trade their Nikes for this thing here? And they'd all raise their hand. They like this better. I said, yeah, you see, that's our ancestors, man. They thought this was cool. But this was actually not a Native American invention. It was invented with the idea of trading it to the Native Americans. We just used it, but it was not our invention. Just like all of these are what they call tomahawk things. This is the one I usually put all these up, and I say, okay, which one is strictly Native American? And they all point at this one. And I go, not And they go, why? I said, every culture in the world, French, German, English, everybody went through the Stone Age. And if they went through the Stone Age, they used one of these. So we're not the only ones that use this. We're the only ones that got branded with it. For some reason, people associate with us with being primitive. So they're going to associate us with this primitive axe called a tomahawk. And we're not the only. I always trick them because I put feathers on it. But I said, think about all the different cultures throughout history that wore feathers. Hey, I read, we know about the Musketeers. They had feathers. They wore them. We know about the African Zulu tribes. They wore feathers. We know about the Scottish Highlanders. They wore feathers in their bonnets. Every culture wore feathers. But all of a sudden, you associate us, American Indian, when you see a feather, you think of American Indian. Hey, Robin Hood used feathers. I mean, geez. So, stereotype. We're not the only ones to use this. So, I could run off hours. Just don't. I'll stop if you want me to stop. Okay. And it's my grandmother's story. This story is actually about me and my little cousin. And this story is actually, when I tell this story, a lot of the elders in the tribe, they go, I know that. Well, years ago, when you got sick, or if you had a bad toothache, or something like that, your mouth might have got swollen, or you might have got lockjaw, there was a certain medicine that you would take. Well, my grandmother had this medicine that she would use, and she'd pound it down, and she'd put it in a bowl, and one of the ingredients would be out around the bottom of a cedar tree. And she'd bring it in, and when she'd crush it up, it was called cockroach. Yeah, cockroach was used in lockjaw, and it was also used in inflammation in the gums, for scars and different things like that. And one thing you always had to be, growing up, if you had a grandmother or an elder that was a medicine person, you had to be very, very trusting. Because some of the things that they used as medicine, a lot of times when they grabbed it, it was still crawling. And you just took it for granted that they were doing it for your best interest. So when they would crush up a cockroach and stuff like that, spider webs were used. I actually had spider webs used on me, and it's to stop bleeding. There's if you get cut and it's really bad and you're bleeding very bad, you take the spider web and the makeup of the spider web that holds it together, the liquid that holds it together, actually acts as a clotting agent. It clots your blood. So that was one of the things. There's so many things. Like I grew up with my grandmother, things that I saw, and then different things in the community, that it was still out here, and it's still out there today. Like all the plants here, like the willow tree that we have here, that was an original aspirin medicine. It's good for headaches, it's good for pains, aches. You take the bark, you boil it down, you leave the tea, sit there for 24 hours long. But you always kept a pot of willow tea in case anyone got a headache or anybody got aching joints or any kind of pain. So the willow was used for that. The elderberry was used for blowguns, but it was also used, it's also a good laxative. The berry's a good laxative. The leaves are good for eczema, like itching skin and things like that. I had a real bad rash. It's almost gone right here, and I don't know what I ran into, but I was in the swamps and I ran into something and I broke out in a rash all on this arm. I came back, got the elderberry, pounded it up, made a paste out of it, put it on my arm, and this was just not too long ago, and you can see it's almost gone. I mean, it's hardly any trace of it left. So, a lot of the plants that you see on this site, or plants that I've out collected, are things that I remember growing up with and seeing. Janie's helped me out a lot with plants too, because she has a lot of plants. Kirby knows a lot of plants, but Kirby's mother knows a whole bunch of it. And she speaks fluent French. Basically, that's almost all she speaks. So she would be the one that you'd want to get with if you want to get a word about the traiteurs or the traitus. And from first-hand experience, that's the lady you want to go. She's an elder and she knows her stuff. And and she would be the one to do it. Myself, like I said, I've got stories that I grew up with, but you don't have enough tape. But I did, like I said, I I just glad you came so I could share some of it with you and stuff like that. My grandmother actually, one of the things I do share, we do stomp dance. I still stomp dance. And the first time I came back from Oklahoma and I stomp danced, I came back, my grandmother was at my mother's house, and I walked in. And my grandmother seen the marks on my arms from the stomp dance. She saw the cuts. And she saw, and I came in, and she said, she grabbed my arm, she did that, she looked at it, she says, where'd you get that? And I told her, and then I started telling her about getting together and having a feast and fasting and everything else, and she stopped me. And she starts telling me about stuff. And I looked at her, and she said the last time she remembered it being openly done in public was in the 1930s. I mean, not 1930, 1913. She was very, very young. And she said she remembered all the people getting together at that time of year. We call it the green corn, or our New Year. They would actually call it like a harvest, or honoring the corn and different things like that. But it was like it's a green corn ceremony. But she told me, she said, all the communities would gather together. They'd bring food, they would dance. The men and women both, they would dance, they would share food, they would sing. She does remember the men going a long time without eating, without sleeping. And it's identical to what I did in Oklahoma. So when I came back from Oklahoma, and I shared it with her, and she told me, and basically she reaffirmed it for me. I knew what I had done was where I needed to be, and I also realized that they still knew about it, and they were still doing it, and the people today still do it. So I'm able to find the stuff and actually, put it together. And we do stomp now here. We've been doing it almost 2 years here now, and it was as far as I know, it's the first time openly it's been done in Louisiana since that time my grandmother said back in 1913. And I feel good about it. And we do have people that come on a regular basis, and it's closed to the public because we want to keep it as pure and as original as possible. And we don't want to incorporate the powwow into it and any of that stuff. We want to strictly, and we're taking some of the songs since we are learning how the songs are sung. And I know, a lot. I have the books on my language and know my language a little bit now. I'm actually rewriting songs about things that went on in our history, and I'm trying to put them into stomp songs. So that way when we stomp, I can actually do Homa stomp songs that tell about our history. People back years ago had to do that. They wrote their own songs, so I'm doing the same thing today. Okay. You guys are tired of this? Right? It hasn't changed. Okay. All right, so we have 14 members on the tribal council. In fact, today is a tribal meeting, and it's on West Main Street.
But there was one last Saturday.
No, it's this week. Last Saturday? Really?
That's what I heard.
Oh wait, that's true. Today's okay. Yeah, I'm a week off. Sorry. Okay. So it was last Saturday. Forget me. I don't know about time. I go from one week to the next week, and it's like people have to tell me what month it is half the time.
It's
So
all
14
tracked.
members. And how do you select the members?
Actually, they're voted. You have a person that basically is gonna. He puts his name in the hat, and then he's voted on if he wants to run.
So you volunteer.
You would volunteer for that. Yeah, you would or nominate. If you're nominated, or you would volunteer.
Okay, volunteer or nominated.
Or nominated, and then you have to be elected.
So who votes?
Usually the tribal council votes on it. A lot of times, it depends on, a lot of times if a person is going to be appointed and they're running for it, the tribal council will vote on it. Normally, the tribe should vote. You know, we vote on it, and that way it's like your area would vote on it. But the person you need to talk to about that, because I'm gonna personally tell you, I'm home Indian, but since I'm not on the tribal council, I never talk about politics, and I never talk about anything that the tribal council does, because that's why we have tribal representatives. And I am not always there amongst them, so there's a lot of things that they might know that I don't know. And to me, like I said, I'll answer basic questions.
Yeah, that's
But if you get into any details, they need to. Like Brenda, you would need to go to. You would need to go to Kirby. You would need to go to Joe Dardar right here in Kenner, and he's on tribal council. Coco Capel is another one. He's on tribal council. So those are the people you need to talk to.
and
What's that?
How many women? How many men?
It's pretty much equal.
Yeah, yeah.
Our tribal chairman's
Remember, we're an equal society.
right.
Men and
I
women
know
are
you
equal. Actually, you know, and men like that too.
And the chief is chosen among the council?
The leader, yeah,
Leader.
yeah, the leader. They vote on her. Well, actually, on her. Our last two were women. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like it. The last three were women. Yeah. But my grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side were both home. So I guess you'd call me 3/4 home and 1/4 Choctaw. Yeah. But I'm all home, I guess.
Music?
Et pour la chasse au cocodrille, qui c'est qui Attends. Pour the alligator.
My husband and I used to get alligator.
Yeah, she's a great lady you need to talk to. I'll tell you my alligator story and she'll tell you hers.
My daddy taught me how to hunt, fish. I was in a duck blind and everything. And I did everything. My daddy read class and a friend of mine came up to me. She said, "Do you still want an alligator?" I said, "Oh yeah, I got some friends coming from New Mexico now, you know." So I needed one. And so she said, "Well, we just killed one underneath the house." I said, "Okay." So I went and I grabbed that alligator, threw it in my trunk, and went to my mom's house and showed my brother how to clean an alligator. And he was like, because he didn't know, because he's young, and a lot of things hasn't been passed on. So, and cleaning alligators kind of different. But yeah, we do. I do clean alligator, hunt, trawl, and I mean anything. Pretty much anything that they do in the wild, the hunt.
Do you go and catch them too?
Yeah, I used to when I was married.
How did you do that?
My husband did. I didn't. I just go with them, and we'd string it.
How does he go about
It depends on the size of the alligator, you know. But there's people like Adam
Does he
Bill Yacht,
first, or what does he do?
the bait, hand, you know.
Catches them?
There's a lot of like Adam Bill Yacht. He and his grandfather and his dad and his grandfather they did a lot of that in our area, and Adam still do it today.
How many hands do they have left?
He was telling some stories the other day about the alligator and stuff
So
like that.
either you grab them by hand, or you just
People shoot them
shoot them.
between the eyes.
Not that you also cut them with bait
Yeah, and bait.
and a
Yeah.
big hook.
And a big hook. Yes. But yeah, it just, yeah, but. That's you, the alligator. That's you. That's him. That's his story about the alligator when, with his it was your grandfather, your uncle. Yeah. Go ahead, tell him about that story. Yeah.
I laughed because I was telling this story one time in front of a whole bunch of people, and they were going, "I remember them doing that." I thought, you know, because a lot of people look at you like you're crazy, but I was about 12 years old, and my uncle asked, "Well, want to go out?" And I didn't ask. He said I was going alligator hunting with him, and so I went with him, and he handed me an axe. Not like this one, a little bit bigger than this, but handed me an axe and said, "We're going alligator hunting." I said, "Okay." You know, so we went, and I'm paddling, with him. He had beautiful cypress boat. I mean, he handmade this cypress boat, cut the tree down, did everything. I mean, it was beautiful. It was about maybe 15, 16 feet long, about maybe a couple feet, well, about 3, 4 feet wide, something like that. But it was real long, and it was nice, man. And we were in the boat, and we're paddling out, and he's got this basket of oyster shells in the boat. And I always wondered how, why he had a basket of oyster shells in the boat. And we're paddling along, and he starts telling me what we're going to do. And then he says, now, when the alligator jumps in the boat, and I look at him, when the alligator jumps in the boat. And I'm thinking about this alligator jumping in the boat. And he goes, no, when the alligator jumps in the boat, what I want you to do is you got to, if it lands this way, you take it and hit it, like the same thing as she said, shoot it between the eyes, you hit him between the eyes with the axe. Split his skull. Okay, I'm still comprehending the alligator getting in the boat with me, So I'm sitting there, and he says, now if the alligator falls in this way, you catch him right there, and that's going to kill him too. That'll split his skull from the other way. Okay, when the alligator gets in the boat, yes. So I'm paddling along, and he says, now, I do want to tell you something. You know my nice boat, huh? I said, yeah. He says, I'm going to tell you one thing. You hit that alligator all the time. But if you miss that alligator, you can cut your foot off, cut your arm off, cut your leg off, cut anything off. But if you miss that alligator and hit my boat, it's you and me. So you don't hit my boat. So I say, okay. So I'm going, the alligator's jumping in the boat, yeah. So we're paddling along, and he pops me behind the head with, I don't know what it was, but he hit me behind the head and he told me to stop. So I stopped. And I'm sitting there, and he says, he looks over, points over like that, and he says, it's an alligator. And I look over, and that thing it was about 10 and a half foot long. It was a big alligator. Now my uncle, I guess he was about, he must have been about 5'6", so he wasn't a big guy, And he says, he stopped, so he picked up that oyster shell, and that alligator must have been about maybe 12, 13, 14 feet away from us. He was right on the bank of the bayou. And he took that oyster shell, and he threw that oyster shell and hit that alligator right behind the head. And right as he did that, the alligator basically got up and started sliding down in the water. And as the alligator's sliding down into the water, he jumped in the water. Well, he jumped in the water like, I always say, while watching him do this, it was like what we call alligator ballet, okay, because it's like poetry in motion. He hit that water, and when he went in, he went this way. He went under the alligator. And when he got under the alligator came up out of the water and flipped into the boat. He actually picked the alligator, from underneath, and actually physically picked the alligator from the body and threw it in the boat. And I'm sitting here, I got both feet on the stanchions here, and I'm up here with my axe, and I'm looking down at this thing, and he's like, my face was like this, and the alligator's face was the same way, because, basically, he didn't know how he got in the boat, And the only thing I could think of is I hit him, got him right between the eyes, and then I pulled the axe out and nailed him again. Well, my uncle crawled back in the boat, and he looked over at me, and he looked at my feet, he looked at my arms, he said, well, you still got all your toes, you got your legs, you got all your hands and everything. He said, but I want to know why it took you 2 times to kill that alligator. He said, it should have only took 1 hit. I was just making sure he was dead. If you'd have hit him right, he would have been dead the first time. I said, okay. But I'm sitting there, we're paddling. He tells me, he says, well, the next one we're going to get, I'm going to try to get a small one for you. That way it's not bad. And I'm paddling along, and I'm thinking about what motivated me to hit that alligator. When that man, that 5'1" man, 5.5 foot man jumped in that water and flipped that 10.5 foot alligator, 10.5 foot alligator in that boat like it was a paper mache doll, I said I would rather deal with that alligator than that man that threw that alligator in that boat. So basically, that motivated me, But years later, I think it was just like quite a few years ago, we were sitting around a table and we were talking. And I asked him, I said, Uncle, let me ask you a question. Remember when you told me miss that boat, if I miss that alligator and I hit your boat, it's going to be you and me? You were going to deal with me? I said, really? You wouldn't have did me anything, huh? And he looks over at me and he goes, we'll never know that answer, will we? So I'm always questioning if he would probably skin me instead of that alligator. But he was a pretty tough guy, man. He hunt pigs down, and he'd do a lot of things that, I mean, I watched him do stuff that I used to go pick up his traps for him and everything, and see him do stuff, and I'm going, my God, look at this man. You know, and I know how to do it, but you know what? I'm not him. I could never duplicate the stuff that he did. You know, so I'll leave that to history. Let him be the guy that did that. He's the last one. And I tell that story, and then I start hearing other people say, yeah, remember, alligator hunting with ramming poles down alligator's throat and killing with axes and actually tying them up and bringing them back in alive and things like that. And it's like, yeah, I could picture that. You know, I could see that. People were pretty tough. They were tough. You know, actually, unfortunately, a lot of us in this culture start to get pretty soft. You know, they always tell me about, oh, it's a lot hotter today than it was years ago. I'll be honest with you, I'm outside all the time. I don't notice it. To me, it's no hotter than it was when I was a kid. I think what it is, most people are inside nowadays, and they go from the air conditioning building to the air conditioning car to the air conditioning mall, and your body's not accustomed to it. I kind of figured the other day, I just kind of put it together. I said, you know, my body is at 98, what is it, 98.6? That's your body temperature. Until it gets hotter than 98 degrees, I should not get warm because I'm at my own body temperature. Now, if it gets to 100, maybe it might get warm. You know, but still, that's not that much above my temperature. So it should be totally unbearable. Our ancestors, their body was they lived in that temperature. They didn't shock their bodies by going in and out the refrigerator, I call it, the house. So yeah, it didn't bother them. But it does bother us now because we become, in my term, wimps. Yeah. You know. But that's all these stories. I know she's got tons of stories over there she can tell you. All right. Okay. Depending on, like I said, you go throughout the community. You got people that play guitars. You got people that play drums. You know, you got people that sing French songs and things like that. But original instruments were. We did have a water drum that we used to use that was made out of cypress, and it was done for ceremony, and it was done for certain dances like stomp dancing and stuff. We also used turtle shell rattles for our singing, where you could have a rattle that you would use with your hand, but then you also had the women that had turtle shell rattles on their legs. And that's how they kept the beat for the dances that we did. The women would actually use the rhythm and the double beat with their legs and like the sound, and they would actually cause that with their legs. There would be turtle shell rattles, like I think 8 on each leg, so about 16 rattles that they would have, and they would actually keep the beat, and the men would sing. But as far as flutes and things like that, I really don't know of anything like that we used. I don't know, and I know we didn't have fiddles and things like that until the French came over and things. I actually, I figured the first time probably our ancestors heard a fiddle, it probably sounded to them like a cat being strangled, you know, that's, you know, you know, because that was something that was unique and new, but basically, you know, we had water drums, but we didn't have the big old powwow drums. I mean, that's something that you very seldom see or hear about. But I've heard talk about water drums, and the water drums were about this big, and they were only played by one person, you know. And we had our turtle shell rattles, but most of our music was vocal, yeah. So, for a lot of songs like today, I'm writing some in my language, rewriting some of the stomp songs, so that way eventually we'll have stomp songs again back in our language, maybe telling about the stories about the Ishe Homa, about what they call Baton Rouge, about the Bayou Gula and the Homa, and maybe about Rosalie Couteau, and a bunch of stuff like that. And I've been just sitting down and writing stuff down, and just taking history stories, and I'm trying to write them into eventually have old stomp songs again, talking about this history. Since we're really, as far as having stomp songs that have been passed down, I don't know of any that we still do today, but I can recompose some about some of the history.
Do you use traditional instruments?
Just the voice and the turtle shell rattles. Yeah, the women will keep the beat, and no drums,
No drums.
no drums. It'll strictly be traditional. It won't be powwow. But we're gonna be doing a little stomp tonight, and a couple of us are getting together, and we get together once a month, and we do keep it going. We're trying to keep the culture going there. Almost got the handle done.
It corresponds with a new moon, with a full moon or something?
What's that?
Does it have to correspond with a moon or?
No, it doesn't have to. The only you do have we do have it every month. Um, we make it today since we're living what we call in the 20th century, and a lot of people have to work for a living out of the community or out of the Indian world. We have it where it's convenient for people, because some people have to travel long distances to get here. So we now do it, I think, well, right now we do it the third Saturday of the month. Um, and when it gets inconvenient for everybody, we'll change it to whenever's convenient for people. But there are certain times of the year, each change in season, you do have to have either some ceremony or something. Someone you get together and do something, um, and that's just normal. Uh, Green corn's always the same every year. Our green corn is in July. It's at the first weekend in July, and everybody gets together, and that's our New Year. So, and that's when you're dancing for days. It's not like our regular stomp dance where we come in the afternoon and we have our supper, or everybody brings food and have a potluck, and then by the next morning we're all going on our way home. At Green Corn, you go there during that week and you don't leave until that Sunday night, and you fast and you sing and you dance and you go through ceremony and everything else. So that's the big one. So that lasts, you're prepared all year for that week. You get yourself prepared for that week because it's very, very intense. It's actually one of the, by what someone wrote years ago, it's one of the only fully, what we call fully intact religions in America today, as far as Native Americans go. It doesn't incorporate any Christianity into it, and really, you don't see any European influence in it. It's basically strictly Southeastern Native. It's Muskogean Nation. So, and that was written back in the 60s. That was in a book that they wrote about the stomp. I know a lot of the old stories, and I try to keep the tradition going. But throughout the years, so many people have lost stories because of being what we call assimilated into what we call this society. Um, the Catholic Church coming in, or the Methodist Church coming in and teaching their stories, and a lot of our stories disappear. Um, it's like a trade-off, and but I still honor the old traditions. As far as the green corn, I still do that. New Year, I do that. Each season change, I do that. Um, I also won't eat crawfish. I refuse to eat crawfish because it's like, it would be like an American eating the eagle. Or someone eating the symbol of their country. It's our war symbol. It's actually our tribal symbol. It's part of our creation story. And to me, our creation story, and I feel my creation story, the Homer creation story, I feel as strong about that creation story as a Christian feels about his creation story. So the crawfish is actually part of that creation story. So why would I want to eat the crawfish? You know, so I don't. And a lot of people uh, now they see what I do, and now that I don't. I mean, we had a big gathering in Dulac, and they had a big supper, and they cooked crawfish, and she told them that no, he won't touch the crawfish, so they boiled crabs and shrimp too. And I did not eat the crawfish. I will refuse to eat it, you know, and that's how strong I am into my, they call it mythology. To me, it's my religion or my history, you know, and I'm as strong in mine as a Christian is in theirs. And so that's why I won't eat crawfish, you know. And I've talked to a few other homeless, and you know what? They started thinking about it and going, wow. And they're realizing that I'm not eating it anymore either, you know. And there's certain things that we do because other cultures did when they came here, or we've been taught not to do it anymore. And I'll keep it going. I'm not gonna. I look at it this way. Now that I know the truth, and now that I know, and you know, the stuff is back, and I'm not gonna let it leave me again. You know, because I want my kids. I want it to be passed down to my kids. You know, like the language and the stories and the traditions and things like that. All right, got my little handle now. That's the handle for my door. Actually, it's a little bit too big. It looks like Pinocchio's nose. So, where are y'all going to be going to next? Was that I watched the other religions, and I didn't like what I saw, so I said, well, I want to be who I am, you know, um, and then I think what really kept me into staying the way I am is actually reading. Once I read about my religion, and I saw what some of the elders were doing, and remember the things I watched growing up, and then I saw that what made me strong in my belief is to watch a tribe being pulled apart by religion. And I'm going, and that's when I questioned it. I said, you know, you've got one religion here preaching that they're the right religion. You got another one over here. I've got a family that is basically, parts of my family are torn apart because of religion. And years ago, before all these different religions came in, you didn't have that. You know, so I said, there's something wrong. I think I'm going to go back to the way it was before. So that's when I started sitting down and talking more, and then thinking about things growing up. And, you know, I think talking to my grandmother made it a big difference. You know, she eventually was converted over. But remembering some of the stories and things that she told me, it made me want to go, because a lot of our people get pressured into converting over. It's like a guilt or a guilt and a fear that's being used to convert them over. And that's the way I look at it. And a lot of people try to condemn me for the way I believe, but that's the way I believe. I look at, before all these religions came into our communities were more united. You know, and to me, I mean, I look at other cultures around the world, and it looks like almost 95% of the wars that go on are over religion. You know, I look at Ireland, and I look at all the other places, it's over religion. You know, and I'm going, no, if that's the way it's supposed to be, I don't want it to be that way. You know, because our differences as far as Native Americans go, if we had a difference with someone, or we went to war or fought against them, it wasn't over religion. It's over something like, you know, you guys are hunting on our land, or you guys are, you know, you're encroaching, or you know, you came in and you raided invaded us or something like that, you know. It wasn't over religion. But I see a lot of wars today in the 20th century and even in the past, they were over religion, you know, and I just didn't want to have anything to do with that. I guess I'll stay neutral, you know. But that's what motivates me, you know, to keep that part of it going. And also finding people that knew the old way and still knew the southeastern way and the traditional way of the Muskogean people. And so it's hard. It's real hard because a lot of times you feel alone because of a lot of our people being converted over. So I'm basically, and you watch how you speak and how you talk because you can easily be persecuted, not by the outside world, but by your own people sometimes because of the way they've been taught. You know, I've seen people that, you know, they accept me for who I am and what I believe in now. But there's a lot of people out there that are coming over to the way I believe in the native way and the balance and trying to be traditional, and they're being really treated. They're being isolated. They're being actually spit on by their own people because no, you can't do that. That's a heathen way. That's not right. You know, so they're getting a lot of pressure. Some of me, I don't get it anymore because they just accept who I am. You know, and they accept that that's what I am and who I am. So since I've been doing it for so long and kept it for so long, but a lot of the people that are doing it now, they're getting a lot of flack. I know someone in particular, they're getting a lot of flack because they're going back to the old heathen way, which to me I find is great. You know, I don't see anything wrong with it. It doesn't hurt anybody. It only teaches good, and it teaches to be at one. Basically, I think that's what a lot of other ones teach, you know, but they don't, I guess they don't practice what they preach sometimes. So, that's all I got to say about that, I guess. That's touchy. Religion's a touchy subject in America, especially when you got to realize we didn't get freedom of religion. Actually, we had it taken away, and we still don't openly have freedom of religion. So it's a very, very touchy subject when you also consider the power in America is Christian, and anybody that's not, usually it's you're going to be attacked, you know, and destroyed sometimes. So it's a touchy subject, yeah. But hey, I respect everybody. Whoever you are, be proud of who you are, and if you don't hurt me, and you don't hurt anybody I know, anybody that's out there, your religion's fine with me. You know, I'm not gonna say you're wrong or you're right or whatever. I'm just gonna respect the way you believe.
Could you talk about your religion? I mean, the Indian,
What's that?
native Indian religion. Could you talk about your religion? What is it based on?
Actually, I don't like doing that for one reason. To me that'd be like preaching,
Okay.
and I don't like doing that.
Okay.
It's an individual thing. With the way I believe and the way I feel, it's me. So if and you know, because there's a lot of people out there, even native people out there that there's just a generic Indian religion, you know, and they go, oh no, you got to follow it this way, you got to do ceremony this way, you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way. No, I was taught that you don't do it. That you do what makes you feel good here. You have to find out the truth, and you have to find out what works for you. You know, and can't see how someone can tell me what works for me. That's why so many people are so confused. You know, people trying to tell them what makes them feel good and what makes them feel right. How does another person know what makes you feel good inside? And they can't. I mean, I know people that are being dictated on their religion that they got to follow rules and regulations, and their lives are miserable. And they jump from one religion to another religion to another religion. You know, and I don't know. I don't go for that. I go the old way. What makes you feel good, and you know what's wrong and what's right. You know, if you're taught growing up what's wrong and what's right, you know what's wrong and what's right. You know, and even inside of you, you know what's good and what's bad. You know, it's just you want to choose if to go with it or not. There's a lot of people that just ignore that. They know they're doing wrong, you know, but they choose to ignore that. I know things that I thought when I was a kid or growing up. I know that they're wrong, and I didn't do them because I knew they were wrong. You know, and I didn't do them. You know, and there's things that I know are good. You just know that. It's just human nature. But a lot of people ignore those feelings and say, don't bother with that. That's not right. Let somebody guide you. I don't know. I don't like that.
According to history books, a number of tribes broke up for one reason or another, and some were assimilated into the homeland. It was the Washa Indians, the
Washa, the Bayugula, the Akalapisa, a bunch of them. And what it was is a lot of times it was because of survival. If a tribe was basically, that's another thing that really aggravates me the most about people, the way they look at the Homas. They have to look at all the other tribes, like the Seminoles. The Seminoles are recognized people. And they say, well, you're a mixture of all kind of people, but look at the Seminoles. They were Creek, they were Apalachicola, they were some Choctaw that flew down in there, they were, Muskogean, they were this, they were that, and they became the Seminole, and they're recognized. The Homa were coming down to where we are now, and they absorbed the Acropisa, the Bayugula, the Ofo, some of Takapa, some of the Tunica, some of the Chitamacha, depending on, like a lot of times, a war might have destroyed a tribe. A disease came through and almost annihilated the village. There was just remnants. Well, those people were not going to survive in a small quantity, so they were absorbed by the larger tribe. And once you're absorbed by that tribe, you became that tribe. To me, being united Homa Nation, a lot of people, well, we're not united Homa. No. Let me tell you something. The Homas absorbed so many tribes because of survival. Of those smaller tribes. Those people wouldn't be part of my family today or even be alive today if it wouldn't have been for those Homas absorbing them. Once you were absorbed by a larger nation, you became that nation. Once you were adopted and you were brought in, you became that nation. The Bayugula didn't no longer exist in that family. The Tunica no longer exists. You are now you're now Homa. So when I look at United Homa Nation, to me, it means the uniting of all these tribes for survival. And that's what united means to me. People are trying to say, there's no such thing as United Homa Nation. Even some of the Homas say, we shouldn't be united, we should just be Homa. No, we are united Homa people. We were united from a bunch of different tribes for survival. And it should be remembered that way, that without the uniting of these tribes, we wouldn't be here today. A lot of people look at what I say and say they don't like it. But I say, that's my belief. That's what I feel. So when I look at the Akalapisa, I look at the Ofo, the Awasha that were living down there. I mean, geez, the governor, the French governor of Louisiana, sent African slaves in the lower communities and totally annihilated those communities. And the remnants of those tribes, we picked them up and made them part of ourselves because there was hardly anything left to them. And the French governor at the time did that for a reason, to show the Indian, don't mess with us, that, we can deal with you. And a lot of people don't want to hear that part of the history, but it was there. That part was there. There were good people that came here from France, but there were also bloodthirsty people and greedy people that came here from France. And as a Native American, I'll talk about both. And I'll also talk about our people on our side that sold us out. No different than some of the African slaves' ancestors sold them out in Africa. We had the same people in our tribe, sold us out. So like I said, all cultures, that's one thing I grew up learning. There are good and bad in all cultures. I cannot judge a race by what a few people do. I only judge you by what you do. So I'm not going to tell you, and there's a lot of people that got a chip on their shoulder. I get upset sometimes when I read about my history and things that have been done. But I should never walk up to you. Say, for instance, maybe her grandfather, great-great-great-grandfather might have shot and killed my great-great-grandfather at one time. I'm not going to walk up to kill her and do anything to her. Why? She had nothing to do with it. Now, if our great-great-grandfather was here, that'd be a different story. But she's not responsible for the sins of her ancestors, like I'm not responsible for the sins of my ancestors. I'm only responsible for my actions. You know, you can do one thing though. As an ancestor, that person that did that, keep that from ever happening again, and make it right. But I'm never going to condemn you for it. Even if you don't try to make it right, you're not responsible for it. But you can remember what went on and keep it from happening again. You know?
I wondered if that was the reason why you said from one family to another that certain traditions changed like the cedar is because they came from a different.
Well, you see, also too, you got like, okay, say for instance the Chitimacha. I know I see the Houma language, I see the Choctaw language, I see the Mobilian language. I was at the Chitimacha Reservation a couple weeks ago, and they had their dictionary sitting there, and I'm looking at their dictionary, and I'm looking at my language. No similarities, none whatsoever, but they were adopted into our culture. That's our families. Some of those people were adopted into our families. Some of those people on that reservation are related to me. Not firsthand, but in distance they're related. I'm not Chitimacha, but some of those people are related to me. You know, just because someone's Chitimacha don't make me Chitimacha. You know, it's from a different part of the family. But the same thing with the Tunica. The Tunica and the Chitimacha were very close, and they spoke a very similar language, almost same cultures, but totally different from us. You know, so if any of those people came in and their communities, the remnants of those people stayed together, oh yeah, you're going to see a difference. You're going to see a little difference in some of the songs, some of the traditions. But it was known that the Chitimacha eventually adopted the Mobilian language fully. You know, so they did do that, but they also kept some of theirs, because if they didn't, their language wouldn't be there today like it is. You know. And you can go from one community and look at the people, and just see the people from one community to the other community. Like Laurie and I, we come from basically almost the same bloodline. We got the same color skin. We basically could pass for sister and brother. You know, the whole works. But you go through other communities and you're going to see a distinct difference. You know, in some of the other communities where I grew up, or my community, because different tribes. You know, different tribe, different look. Yeah. We were laughing because I was at a funeral last year. And my wife, the first time, my wife is Anishinaabe. She's Chippewa, Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And she came in, and there were people from all the different communities there. And she walked in, and it was for Joe Dardard's wife's funeral. And she walked in and she looked, and she knew these were all homeless, but she actually sat. She says, I can see the difference in the people, difference in the communities. She actually sat there and watched. Someone from the outside can actually see it. You can actually see one community to the other. You can see the difference in the heights, the sizes, the looks, everything, the hairstyles, everything else. So yeah, we are United Houma Nation, but we're made up from, and I really hate that term when they call us mixed bloods, because it makes us sound like we're mixed with all kind of other cultures. But we're mixed bloods, we're mixed blood native. Whereas Indians, you can make it. I mean, if you think about it, we're six, you think about it, some people are only 1, 2 tribes. We're a bunch of tribes, man. We're more Indians than most people think. Most people are. You know, we can actually jump back and say, yeah, you know, I'm from this tribe, this tribe, this tribe, this tribe, and have it documented. This is where we're from. And that's what's hurting us right now.
Is there a lot of mixture with the Cajuns?
There's some, but I'll be honest with you. I'll be perfectly honest with you. You can go to a lot of communities and see pure Indian. Oh, yeah. You can
And the
see.
Cajuns sort of live side by side.
Yeah, but you can see some of those Cajuns that mixed in with us. They call themselves Cajuns, and they're really Indians.
Yeah.
They got a lot of Indian blood in them. You know, but they just would rather not be called Indian. You know. But some of the people, you can go to the communities and you can see. You can go to a reservation. Like my mother, for instance. I've gone to reservations out in different areas of the United States and actually seen people identical to my mom. You know, I mean, she's as Indian as you can make it. She's full blood. And when you see her and you talk to, like Laurie Ann will blend right on in on any reservation. I've gone to reservations where, when I had before I got my traditional haircut, when my hair was down to here, I'd walk in a reservation and blend right on in, you know. And
You
so,
don't have a crawfish on your
actually, this is a gift. It's got some medicine in it that was given to me by an elder, and I don't take the medicine, but it's a memory of the elder because he's passed on now. And what medicine bags are really, they're not medicine like to take by mouth, but they're medicine for here and for here. And just hitting this every once in a while keeps me motivated by the things I learned from him and stuff. It's medicine for the heart, for the soul, and for the mind. Hello, Mother. That's my wife. She's that foreign Indian from Michigan.
Would you show us,
Where'd you get that drink?
Well, we're out of change in the cash register, so we took almost 20 of the cash register.
Yeah, did you get me one of those? You didn't ask me either. You say matriarch of society, they just... Yeah, well, talking, I need something to drink.
Lunch right now.
Thank you.
You said that you're Native American.
What's
You
that?
say you're pure Native American, that there was no mixture of Cajuns and everything.
No, I'm
How are bloodlines transmitted? In other words,
talking for myself, and for myself only. Don't take this as everybody, okay? When I talk for myself. In my eyes, when you carry a Houma tribal card, you're Houma. I'm not Cajun. Even if I had blood in me, I don't have any. I have completely, which I don't, but I have completely, I look at someone, if they were Indian enough to still be part of their family. See, years ago, there was no such thing as, oh, I'm part this, I'm part that. But on the Indian standards, on non-Indian standards, you're half this, half that. It kind of puts a separation there. But to a Native American, once you're married into the family, if it was on your mother's side of the family and she was Houma, you're Houma. You're nothing else. It's a matriarchal society, a matrilineal. So basically, my grandmother was Houma. My mother was Houma. My great-grandmother was Houma. I'm Houma. What's that? So someone that to me that says, oh, I'm part Houma and I'm part French or I'm part this, well, you shouldn't have a tribal card. Because once you took that Houma card and once you said you were Houma, that's who you are. You're not part French. You basically taking that card, you denounce your French, your Cajun, or whatever you have. You are Houma. You know, and I am very, very proud of the Houma culture. I'm very proud of my culture. My dad, yeah, he is part Choctaw. But when you ask me who I am, I will say Houma first. You know, and I will acknowledge the Choctaw, but I am Houma.
because it was your mother.
My mother's Houma. My grandmother's Houma. And my great-grandmother was Houma. And the ones behind her were Houma. So I'm Houma.
Are you familiar with the Lynch tribe?
I've heard of it.
That just got state recognition.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
They're composed of members of the so-called lost tribes.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
And
No comment. I'm going to be safe on that. No comment.
Who just got state recognition?
The Four Winds tribe.
Un autre de dans l'eau. Qui reste dans l'eau, il vient partir.
Ouais.
Comme ça, là, avec la grosseur qui vient, quand ils sortent dans l'eau. Là, elle, peut-être, l'année qui vient, elle va changer, elle va mettre plus gros. Et là, elle est sortie de dedans. On les casse ici. On casse tout le tour. Là, comme ça, eh bien, ça ouvre ici. Et ça, on est petit peu dans la pointe de la bouteille. Et là, il grossit. Vous allez la mort. Ça va changer. J'en ai comme ça. Il va rester ici. Voilà. Plus rien. C'est la grande. Après ça, je mange.
Combien de temps est-ce qu'il peut rester sorti de l'eau comme ça avant de mourir?
On est matin?
Ouais.
Une place là, il y avait 3 ou 4 heures.
3 4 heures?
Ah ouais.
Ouais.
Parce qu'il fait chaud, il y a des
C'est ok.
ouais, on est mis comme ça, il faut décoller.
Ouais.
Ça change. Ainsi là, ça fait pareil.
Regarde, quand tu sors de ça, quand tu sors du carapace là, est-ce que les autres crabes vont monter quand tu s'en montes comme ça?
Ouais, tu en as des mauvaises.
Ouais.
Mais comme ici, c'est pas mauvais. Les crabes, c'est pas bien. Reste un petit peu. Un peu d'eau. Juste un peu.
Alors ça, c'est un poisson rouge.
Ouais. Où il a été? Là.
Et il est là.
Ouais. Les crabes mauvais.
Il est là.
Là. Ouais, il n'a pas dû décoller. Là. Ça, c'est le genre de bio.
Washroom downstairs.
Comment ça va, mon ami,
mon petit ami.
Bonjour.
Tu vas dire bonjour dans le micro pour moi?
Dis-donc bonjour.
Et Véronique, elle se dit bonjour.
Bonjour.
Et Chris, tu sais dire bonjour aussi. Hein?
Dis-nous
Non, il ne sait pas dire lui.
bonjour.
Et Rose, tu sais dire bonjour.
Bonjour.
Je dis bonjour.
Non plus, elle
Non,
sait
c'est
pas
pas
dire
bonjour.
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 Ah, tu sais ce qu'on va faire? On va faire comme
Comment
si
ça
on avait pas
va?
la caméra, puis tu vas nous raconter des histoires. Hein? D'accord?
Bonjour.
Très bien. Merci, Léo.
Dis comment ça va.
Est-ce que...
Dis comment ça va.
Alors, quel âge t'as, toi, Léo?
Léo, s'il te plaît, tu
Léo.
peux venir. Oh, prêter la place à Léo, moi.
Mais maintenant, il est pas grand fauteuil,
Ok.
c'est haut.
Là.
Ah, pour le grand garçon.
Léo, comment
Mais
ça va?
va être difficile
Léo.
d'entendre.
Ça va bien?
Moi, c'est là.
Ah, tu vas parler de ta petite sœur, s'il te plaît.
Léo,
Tu nous dis quel âge t'as?
quel âge t'as?
Oh, tout ça,
Tu as 10 ans, Léo?
Non, pas encore.
Léo, Léo, tu as 3 ans. Regarde, tu as 3 ans.
Tu as 3 ans?
Yeah, hein? Ok.
Ouais, comme ça. Ah ouais. Tu es bien grand pour 3 ans.
Alors,
Oui,
Léo,
tu es grand.
Léo, reste assis.
tu peux nous dire quel âge t'as?
Moi, j'ai 9 ans.
T'as 9 ans, oui, c'est bien. Et tu es en quelle classe? Quatrième?
Je suis en 4e.
T'as pas besoin de...
Alright.
Tu parles comme tu veux. Tu parles à moi comme tu me parlais tout à l'heure. Tu continues à me parler.
Bon.
Ah, tu me dis simplement que tu as 9 ans et tu es en quatrième. Allez, dis-moi. Dis-moi. À moi.
J'ai 9 ans et je suis dans le 4e.
Tu es dans la quatrième. Et elle est où ton école?
Pointe-au-Chien.
Pointe-au-Chien. C'est loin? Tu vas comment? Tu vas en
Comment
autobus?
vas-tu?
Tu vas en voiture? Tu vas à bicyclette?
Tu
vas...
prends un char? Tu
Le
prends
bus. Le bus.
Tu prends le bus. Et toi aussi, Chris, tu prends le bus? Et tu es en quelle classe, toi?
5e.
Cinquième? T'as quel âge? Quel âge t'as? 10 ans? Et tu fais le français à l'école? Comment s'appelle ta maîtresse?
Qu'est-ce que c'est son nom, Chris?
T'as oublié? Elle reste au
Question.
Québec, ta maîtresse? Non? Au Canada?
Ouais. Tu viens du Canada,
Tu vas changer de maîtresse cette année, c'est ça? Tu vas avoir la même maîtresse que l'an dernier. Ça s'appelait comment?
Madame Annie.
Ah, Madame Annie. Oui. Et Véronique, toi, tu prends le cours de français à l'école?
Non.
Pas encore. Mais je crois que tu as gagné un prix pour ton français. C'était quoi? C'était un deuxième prix?
Ouais, t'es deuxième prix.
Et c'était où? Et où?
Lafayette.
À Lafayette, oui. C'était l'an dernier? L'an dernier? L'année passée? 2 ans?
2 ans passés, ouais.
Mais c'est vrai, elle prend pas le français à l'école, mais elle parle hébreu. Tu as étudié le français à l'école?
Non, aucune.
Jamais. Mais tu parles.
Ouais.
Est-ce que tu préfères parler en français ou en anglais?
Français.
Français? Tu as des amis à l'école qui parlent en français?
Ouais.
Est-ce que la plupart de tes amis parlent français? Est-ce que la plupart, le plus de tes amis, est-ce qu'ils parlent français?
Ouais.
Tu as un petit copain? Tu as un petit ami? Un petit garçon? Un petit ami garçon?
Non.
Chris, elle a un petit garçon? Un petit ami? Ah, tu as dit oui?
Non.
Tu connais maintenant?
Non.
Non.
Peut-être un petit garçon que tu aimes bien? Non. Et Véronique, toi, tu n'as pas de copain, quoi?
Mais elle a des copines.
Oui, sûrement. Le petit copain. Et toi, tu as une petite copine? Une petite amie? Très belle? Qui parle français? Ah! Elle parle français, donc il y a une petite copine. Ah oui, parce que quand je demandais si elle parle français, elle a dit oui.
Ouais. Léo.
Elliot.
Attention. Attention.
Oh! C'est Superman. Tu viens parler avec le micro? Qu'est-ce qu'il a fait? Ton pépère, qu'est-ce qu'il a fait pour toi? Où est-ce que c'est le...
Dîner ton papa.
Les gars,
Fais ça.
regarde, regarde.
Fais ça l'hôtel.
Léo.
Léo. Hey.
Ah.
Mon papa fait ça, dis ça.
Qui a fait ça? Qui a fait ça?
Qui mon papa.
Ah, pas se faire, Léo.
Va-t'en là-bas.
Et qu'est-ce que c'est?
Arrête. Ah!
Non, pas ça.
Il a dit que c'était pour tailler avec.
Et c'est toi qui l'as fait.
Léo, goûte pas.
Et alors, il fait des petits puis des grands?
Ouais.
Les grands, c'est pour le bateau.
Ouais.
Et le petit, c'est pour les enfants.
Alors, tu vas à quelle école cette année?
À Montaigu.
À Montaigu?
Ouais.
Et tu as combien d'années là encore? Tu vas
Ça en
rester-
fait 2.
Ça en fait 2 et tu as un an de plus là?
Ouais.
Ou c'est tout?
Ça, par 2 ans après.
2 ans.
2 ans après. Et après ça, tu vas
Léo, c'est toi.
À Roma.
à Roma, à South Carolina?
C'est toi.
Oui. Est-ce que tes amis à l'école ils parlent français?
Pas tous mes amis.
Pas tous, mais beaucoup.
Léo.
Peut-être les 2.
Peut-être 2 amis qui
Léo.
parlent français. Est-ce que vous parlez français à l'école ou en anglais?
En anglais.
En anglais. Et est-ce qu'il y a des petits bals et tout ça où vous voulez initier? Vous allez des petits bals pour danser? Non, pas encore.
Ça se voit.
Lui, il va?
Hein, ne autres pas.
Les autres vont au bal pour danser? C'est quelle sorte de musique?
En anglais.
En anglais. C'est toujours en anglais.
Non, pas une autre, va.
Pas mais là, on va à l'Islande, ça.
Il y a français et anglais.
C'est toi.
C'est
Les
qui a
gants.
fait ça? C'est qui a fait le
Le bon, mon dad.
Léa, l'aide.
le tien aussi?
C'est ça, t'es bien parti.
Avec les dessins, parce que c'est joli.
Qu'est-ce qui est en...
Il a fait un petit.
Un tout petit tabouret comme ça?
Un bon.
Un bon? Oui.
Il a fait Léa et tout.
Oui. Il fait beaucoup de choses.
Et Léa,
Ton père.
Je faisais des bateaux, et tout.
il a fait
Des
Léa.
pirogues.
Des pirogues, des gros bateaux.
Oui.
Dis,
Des
assis-toi.
gros bateaux comme pour aller
Assis-toi.
à la pêche de chevrette.
Ah ouais.
Est-ce qu'il y a beaucoup de monde qui demande ça encore maintenant?
Non, puis,
Ça, c'est. Mets tes pieds là.
C'est quoi? Des bateaux comme ça ou il y a beaucoup? Ça veut dire qu'il y a encore.
non,
Là, si c'est un bateau.
Comme ça. Il a fait ce bateau? Oh,
Et le
j'aime
bateau?
bien ton petit bon là.
Le bateau, tu étais...
Ça, c'est Léa.
C'est toi qui l'as fait? Le bateau?
non.
C'était où que tu faisais le bateau?
Moi, je faisais des bateaux en bois.
Là, t'es pas beau.
Ici, oui.
Non, il est pas pour beau. C'est pour Léo.
Non, j'ai pas de télé, des fois aussi.
Ça,
Maintenant,
c'est
Il
toi.
va se lier à ton
les
père.
bateaux.
Ouais, des fois, on travaille, tu vois. On lâche.
Travail?
Le bon?
Ouais.
Tu vas lâcher?
Ouais, on n'a pas eu
Ok,
de-
ouais.
Là, c'est un bateau.
Hein, Chris? Moi, on faisait des gros
Casting
bateaux.
out of this, please.
On allait dans les parades avec ça. Moi, mon frère a travaillé plein.
Dans des parades comme quoi?
bateau?
Une bénédiction de bateau.
Oui. Et vous pouvez expliquer exactement ce que c'est une bénédiction de bateau?
Une bénédiction de bateau vient avant la saison de chevrette de mai. Là, le monde se met, là, dans le hockey barbecue, d'autres qui ride les bateaux, des petits bateaux, des gros bateaux. Ça se baigne. Ça sent le prêt à bord, le prêt à prévenir.
C'est ici dans le bayou?
Ça se passe dans le bayou.
Et c'est quoi le nom du bayou qui passe devant la maison?
À bayou Pointe-aux-Chiens.
Pointe-aux-Chiens? Sur les cartes, c'est marqué Pointe-aux-Chênes.
Là qui va Pointe-aux-Chiens, là qui dit Pointe-aux-Chiens. C'est soit un chien ou un chambre.
C'est pas la même
non.
chose quand même.
Mais non, c'est pas vrai.
Il a fait ça.
Oh, ton père, il a fait ça? Qu'est-ce que c'est, Léo?
Qui c'est?
C'est
Qu'est-ce
ça.
que c'est?
Ouais, mais qui c'est?
Quoi?
C'est un bateau, ça?
Léo, c'est un bateau?
C'est pour aller dans le bayou. Tu l'as déjà mis dans le bayou?
Le caïman a attrapé ça.
Le caïman l'a attrapé?
Aïe, aïe, aïe.
Wow! Alors, Alors, c'est au mois de mai la bénédiction
de
de
bateau.
bateau. Et c'est ici.
Dans le bayou. Ok, ça c'est un bateau. Ça c'est un bateau que mon petit frère m'a fait.
Ça, c'est un bateau que tu as fait?
Oui, mon
Bon.
frère.
Ah,
Ouais.
dis donc.
Quoi, Léo, c'est de là?
C'est beau, c'est le bateau de
Léo.
ton pépère, ça.
Léo.
Ton pépère, il a fait ça.
Gros, c'est Léo.
Hein?
Bien.
C'est avec ton frère que tu as fait ça?
Moi, mon frère.
Ah,
Regarde.
Léo, c'est de là. Elle a vu que tu viens. Léo.
non mais ça va.
Va-t'en.
Et c'est qui est là-dessus?
Ok, ça c'est pour une bénédiction.
Oui?
Bénédiction de bateau.
Ça sent pas pareil.
Ça c'est ma belle-sœur.
Non.
Ça c'est mon frère. Non, tu le payes, est-ce
Il
qu'on
avait
va
des
tout?
t-shirts. Il est meilleur.
Et il est où ce bateau maintenant?
Ici, là, dans le bayou.
Ah, dans le bayou?
Mhm. Et ça c'est le bateau de
I'm gonna go get us
un jeune à Marie. Marie, ma belle-sœur. C'est son bateau à lui. Mais l'autre n'était premier. Et l'autre n'a sorti premier.
Dad, tu vas m'en va voir.
Et la saison de chevrette, ça passe de mois de mai jusqu'à quand?
Juillet.
Jusqu'à juillet.
Après ça, ça commence dans le mois d'août jusqu'au mois de décembre.
Et entre ces temps, on ne peut pas pêcher des chevrettes.
Pendant, non?
Ouais,
La diable, pendant.
ouais. Et les crabes, il y a saison pour ça?
La saison, c'est la grave.
Ah, d'accord.
Sur ce bateau, là. Moi, Marie, ma belle-sœur, non, en arrière. Ok, la barbecue pit en arrière, là. La nanote d'eau en arrière. Et là, des crabes, des écrevisses, des chevrettes. On fait un gros porc.
Ouais,
Vieni guardare.
beau bateau. Très beau bateau. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres festivals qui se passent ici autour de Bayou des
Pas
Chiens?
rien que ça.
Non, ça c'est le plus grand.
Ça, c'est le plus gros sur le bayou ici.
Ouais.
Et là, dans le bayou du Tarbonne, à Berg, pour Christmas, une parade de bateau pour Christmas.
Ah ouais.
Ah,
Mais ça c'est le Bayou Terrebonne.
Bayou Tarbonne. Mais ça, ici, là, la moitié c'est le Tarbonne, la moitié c'est la Fouche. Elle est dans la Fouche, c'est
ici c'est la Fauche et de l'autre côté c'est Terrebonne.
Tarbonne.
Ah bon? Alors, l'école elle est à Terrebonne
Ouais.
et ici tu habites à la Fauche. Ah,
Il n'y a pas d'école à la Fauche pour aller?
Ouais, mais c'est.
Oui, mais c'est plus loin.
Ouais, c'est loin.
et Montaigu c'est à la Fauche ou à Terrebonne?
Tarbonne.
Terrebonne? Paroisse comme ça?
Ouais, à change de paroisse. Droite le pont, là, tu sais, Michel Deauville.
Oui,
Quand tu restes le pont, là, on change de paroisse.
d'accord. Ça doit faire des problèmes administratifs, ça de changer de paroisse quand on traverse pour aller à l'école, non?
Ah,
Ça va comme ça.
ça va, comme ça. Ah oui.
Et toi, qu'est-ce que tu fais quand tu n'es pas à l'école?
Chris?
Toi aussi?
Pas rien.
Tu vas sur le bayou, faire de la pirogue, là?
Il cueille dans le bayou,
Non.
il coupe moyen les arbres, il file les cochons.
Ah, t'as des cochons?
Un,
Un
deux.
Ils sont gros?
Ma mère, ça gros. Ça aussi, ça gros.
Mais là, c'est loin, c'est sale pour aller en arrière. La pluie, le lawnmower a cassé.
Ouais. Mais ça va être longtemps avant de boucher, quoi.
J'espère que ça vient après, dans
Ah
l'hiver.
bah oui, ça va être au mois de décembre, mois de janvier, autour de là. Ça va devenir beaucoup plus gros.
Ouais.
Donc ici tous les ans, tu fais la boucherie.
Fais bouger.
Est-ce que c'est pour toute la communauté,
Ouais.
juste pour ta famille?
Ouais, n'importe qu'est-ce que vous venez.
Qui a fait ça? Est-ce que quelqu'un a fabriqué ça?
Ça y est, ça à Lafayette.
La
Hein?
voyade de festival.
Ah ouais.
C'est pour jouer de la musique.
Ouais.
Mr. Ling fait juste ça.
On n'utilise pas ça.
Ça
dans
s'appelle
la
quoi
musique?
ça?
Un
Comment
petit
t'appelles
père.
ça? Un tiffer. C'est pour appeler le cochon quand c'est l'heure de manger. Tu fais ça, alors le cochon il arrive.
Oh,
Ah, tu veux pas ça.
Non. Arrête ça.
Qu'est-ce que
Là, il y a eu le pipi comme ça.
je n'ai pas de client.
Pas clair.
Dis-moi, Léo, comment ça se fait qu'un caïman a essayé de manger ton bateau? Comment ça se fait qu'un caïman a essayé de manger ton bateau? Il était dans le bayou?
Tiens. Attends.
Il était gros comment le caïman?
Comment gros le caïman était? Gros.
Plus fort que toi?
Il avait des gros morceaux.
Là, montre-nous les gros morceaux.
Moi,
Léo, moi, il était gros morceaux. Moi, il était morceaux.
c'est ça.
Oh, quel beau muscle! Oh, wow! Tu es grand, tu es fort.
Léo,
Regarde.
Et un petit bateau pour pagailler.
Quanto bateau?
Petit bateau pour...
Tu vas pas gagner,
Voilà,
tu vas dans le
c'est
bayou.
Ah non, mais tout le monde s'en crée.
So?
Toi, Chris, va aller dans le ding, hein. Et Léo?
On est ride un bateau,
Puis aller dire un petit pagaille pour aller dans le ding. Le bayou? Il a pagaille pour le ding.
Et tu fais... Quand je t'avais vu une fois, tu faisais de la bicyclette, non? Tu fais la bicyclette aussi?
Mhm.
Non? Oui.
Tu vas le bicycle.
Hein?
Le bicycle.
Toi, tu fais de bicycle?
Le bicycle.
Flat.
Ah, parce que maintenant c'est plat. Ouais, ça, c'est le problème des bicyclettes, c'est toujours plat.
Et ton bicycle à toi? Et le bicycle à Léo? Le Leroy?
Ouais.
Et le bus, il vient ici?
Non, Chris, non.
Si tu vois là-bas, où est-ce qu'il te prend le bus, Ruth? Quand tu vas en bus à l'école.
Hein?
Il va où le bus? Il vient ici?
Ouais.
Devant ta maison?
Mais tu passes un point ici.
Ça prend combien de temps pour aller jusqu'à l'école d'ici?
Près de 45 minutes, peut-être.
C'est 45 minutes, donc tu dois te lever à quelle heure pour aller à l'école?
7 heures, je me lève pour me préparer en part à 8 heures.
Ah, le bus, il vient à 8 heures.
Chris,
C'est tard, ça, non? Tu commences tard, l'école?
oui, comment
Ouais,
ça?
alors.
Il a bien tard.
Ah,
Léo! Ronnie, Léo! Ronnie, laisse-les.
Oh,
Il y a le
passe les chances.
Il y a juste le film. Il y a le film, mais il y a juste là où ça se
Passe pas trop là.
Il peut.
Non.
Il connaît pas pagailler.
Léo.
Il connaît pas gagner, il est plus grand là, il est.
On use
L'autre.
cette affaire là-bas, là. On a du honey bear.
Oui.
Ça, c'est une drague, j'ai pris un point 18 avec.
Tu vas acheter?
Comment on enlève
Juste ce sont espèce de filet là. Ça, c'est pour prendre des huîtres.
Ouais, que.
Ouais, la tête. Pourquoi qu'il est bas?
Vous pouvez expliquer comment on fait on attrape les huîtres dedans.
Ouais. Alright. On a ça dans le bateau. On a un trait ou une côte de marée ici. On traîne ça avec le bateau. Là, les huîtres sont ici dedans.
Oui.
Là, on a des huîtres dedans. On lève à bout du bateau. Là, on capote les huîtres.
Oui. Et ce bar-là, ça traîne sur le sable de...
Ouais, correct. Ça ici, là, ça traîne le fond, c'est ici.
Est-ce qu'on peut en trouver dans le bayou? Est-ce que c'est uniquement dans le golfe?
Non, il y en a plus, sont pas dans les bayous. Là.
On les prend dans les bayous. C'est de l'eau salée un peu?
Mais il y en a un peu salé, oui.
Oui.
Et là, plus loin on passe, plus salé. C'est selon où on a prépêché.
Ouais.
Mais ça, c'est... Hé, Ronnie, Ruth, va racheter la pâte de grave en arrière. Non, non, ça, Ernie. Là, il y a notre instrument pour empoigner les huîtres avec.
Un autre instrument? Oui. C'est
Voilà.
plus vieux que ça?
C'est plus vieux que ça ici.
Oui.
Là, ici, là, oui, ça, c'est traîné avec un bateau.
Oui.
Là, les huîtres, bonnes dedans.
Oui.
Moi, ça fait ferme dans l'hiver, vivant, naturel sur les bateaux.
Répétez s'il vous plaît.
Moi, ça fait Il avait un cameraman comme nous en bas.
Ouais.
Et puis il nous a prié pour tirer. Ça a été sur le télévision.
Ah. Et c'était quand ça? Quand?
Dans l'hiver, peut-être au mois de novembre ou au mois de décembre. Et je suis ici. Ça m'a amené
Ouais.
les bouts à crabe et les bouts ensuite. Non, il y a quelques semaines la carte qu'il y avait. Ça, c'est comme ça que se pêchait avec un gare comme ça, des petits bateaux comme ça.
Pas illégal.
Ah. Et des fois, j'utilisais une fourche pour pousser le bateau.
Ouais.
Là, je n'ai pas fini. C'est une tête de gaffe, mais ça a été pour un point des huit. Mais il vient d'autres affaires ici. De se travailler comme ça. Mais je n'ai. Chris, tu n'as pas trouvé?
Il y a un filet là? Parce qu'il
Yeah.
devrait avoir.
Mais c'est pas grave. Il fallait acheter un set de naturel. Si je peux les empoigner.
Arrête de gaspiller le pellicule.
Je connais pas été à travailler ça. C'est plein d'ouvrage.
Ah oui.
Mais il faut qu'il connaisse comment on travaille. Les gros, ils savent. Ils s'en viennent. Là, ils se frament. Les yeux d'abord.
Ce n'était pas très vite.
Les autres, peut-être. All right. Mais ces huîtres là sont bateaux.
Prenez combien de ça? Comme ça à la fois? 3 ou 4?
3 ou 4, des fois 5, 6. Ouais, ben, un bouc se guette pas, il se perd le coup. Ok. Ouais. Si un bouc se guette pas, il penche sa tête comme ça, il perd son coup. Comme ça, Léo. C'est comme ça que ça travaille pour les huîtres. Le vieux temps.
Ouais.
Ça, c'est épuisé, ça.
Ça fait combien de temps qu'on n'utilise plus ça? Depuis combien de temps?
Oui, là, t'es vieux, t'es jeune, on se va pour essayer aussi des huîtres. C'est ça, c'est ça, des fois.
Ouais.
Mais c'est pas ça, c'est plus ça, là.
C'est plus cela. Et depuis combien de temps? Depuis les années 30, 40,
Dans les 40 et quelques.
dans les 40 et quelques.
Cela, c'est antique, ça se les fait plus comme ça. C'est différent de modèle, ça.
Ouais.
C'est plus fait comme ça.
Et c'est qui?
Et les enfants, ils vont avec vous quand vous allez aller à la pêche des huîtres et tout ça?
Ah, les plus vieux, oui.
Ah, mais pas les jeunes ici, pas Véronique et même pas Chris.
C'est trop étif.
Comment? Oh no.
Je l'emmène
Ronnie, tu n'aimeras pas ça?
vu Chris au crabe à Bognari. Que j'ai des crabes. C'est un pêcheur au crabe.
Pêcheur de crabe?
C'est un garçon d'un de mes frères.
Le neveu.
Lui, ça fait prendre le pot de trip pour pêcher les crabes dans l'hiver.
Ouais.
Même temps comme nous, on était aux huîtres. Il était au crabe. Oui, même journée. Hein? Chacun notre bateau.
Ouais.
Tu n'avais pas des crabes qui pourraient sortir. On avait été tout à l'heure dans les tanks, mais là, c'était juste après décoller. Non, ils sont slow là. Mais on est trouvé un qui était changé là-dedans. Le minimum.
Le matin, il était dur. Il découle le jet.
Eh bien, je l'ai sorti en temps. Je ne l'ai pas sorti. Je l'ai trouvé il était en dedans. Il y en a plusieurs qui ont décollé.
Je peux demander ton nom? C'est quoi ton nom?
Ouais.
Comment t'appelles-tu?
John Verdun,
John Verdun. Tu as quel âge?
26.
26 ans.
Il y a un petit nom.
Tu avais étudié le français à l'école? Tu n'as
Hein?
pas étudié le français à l'école? Tu n'as pas pris le français
Non,
à l'école?
après le français, à parler, c'est là.
Vous parlez le français à la maison? Tous les cousins, toutes les cousines, les parents, les grands-parents?
Ouais.
Est-ce que tu parles anglais également?
Ouais, je parle anglais.
Vous préférez
français.
parler en anglais ou en français?
Premier comme ça, parler en français. Après, quand on appris à l'école, Et puis en anglais.
Ouais. Alors, lequel tu préfères? Tu préfères parler en français ou parler en anglais?
Pareil.
Pareil.
Ouais.
Pareil, ça dépend de ce que tu fais, quoi.
Ouais. Ça dépend à quelle heure tu parles avec.
Ouais.
Si je parle avec quelqu'un qui parle français, je parle français. Quelqu'un qui
Mhm.
parle anglais, je parle anglais.
Ouais. C'est-à-dire, c'est bien de connaître,
Ouais,
parler les deux.
Ouais.
Ah oui, c'est bon.
Ouais. Et tu as un bateau ou tu travailles sur le bateau de ton père?
Un bateau à moi-même. Un bateau à moi-même.
Ah, bateau à toi-même.
Ouais.
C'est toi qui l'as construit?
Ah, on l'a acheté. Quelqu'un d'autre l'a fait.
Quelqu'un d'autre, quelqu'un d'ici?
Ah, quelqu'un l'a fait.
Mhm.
Vous avez montré sur le canal ici, le fabriqué.
Ouais. Il y a plus personne ici qui fabrique des bateaux comme des pirogues.
Ouais. Son dad, on a fait l'année passée, hein?
Ouais.
Son dad, on fait toujours des fois.
Ouais.
Monsieur qui?
Son dad, on travaille toujours.
Ouais.
Mais là, c'est là, son dad travaille pour une compagnie d'huile. Il n'a pas eu le temps de travailler.
Ah ouais, il reste pas le temps à la maison.
Ouais.
Il était prêt à travailler au ras du Mexique.
Ouais. Les compagnies d'huile, il y en a beaucoup autour
Ça
d'ici.
pourrait revenir. Ça va venir slow, mais ça pourrait revenir encore.
Ouais. C'est eux qui sont propriétaires de ces terres ici?
Ouais.
Ouais. C'est vous qui restez dessus, mais c'est eux qui sont propriétaires.
Ouais.
Correct.
Vous ne pourrez pas avoir votre terrain pour eux, pour vous?
Ouais, mais on ne se met pas de rig ici autour. On va le mettre loin là-bas. On va se pomper l'huile par en dessous. Non, on n'a pas rien comme ça.
Ouais.
Il y a
Je
un
comprends ça.
Mais ouais, ben, il y a un rig pas loin derrière. Mais c'est pas sur notre terrain, nous autres. C'est une carte de compagnie, c'est pour Louisiane. Non, on n'a pas rien. On va se pomper l'huile tout le monde.
Elle se dit qu'il n'a pas rien, elle se pompe ça à côté.
Il y a quelques années passées, ça, mais oui. Ouais. Et là, des fois, on voit ces petits bateaux comme ça, là. Ils sont massacrés, ben, on les a refait par nous autres. On travaille ça. Fiberglass, bois.
Et les gens qui habitent autour d'ici, ils vivent de quoi? Ils vivent de la pêche des chevrettes, des huîtres?
Chevrettes, huîtres, des crabes.
Et pas d'autre chose?
D'autres, qu'est-ce que c'est des jobs, mais tous les autres, c'est aux crabes, aux huîtres, aux chevrettes. Tu pourrais montrer comment tu gagnes. Ah, allons, je te vois la vieille drague. Voici la drague à travailler. Ça, là, doit être antique, c'est sûr.
Ça doit être comme ça.
Non, non, attends, mais tout est antique. Même le bateau, puis c'est plus une nouvelle. Ok, le bateau s'en vient, là. Il ne travaille pas.
Ils ne travaillent pas parce que c'est pas
trop-
assez
C'est trop
lourd.
dur, il est trop
Ouais.
dur.
Ouais,
Parce que les huîtres, tu peux aller dedans.
ouais.
Je la mets à la main. Et là, s'il est moyen sale, il faut
Ouais.
le là.
Ouais.
Pas la main, au moins. Et
Ouais.
là, il faut que ça vienne.
C'est dur comme travail également.
Et là, s'il y en a, des fois, on a des coquilles dessus. On prend un casse-tête, on passe.
Ouais,
Qui l'huile là-bas.
ouais. Et ensuite, vous les vendez où?
Ah,
Au bord de la route?
n'importe où. C'est quand on veut ici. Si les shops on veut, on va sur le shop.
Ouais.
J'avais été sur le télévision. Il avait un beau qui était prêt à manger une huître. Il faisait ça. Il dit, mange pas une huître comme ça. Il dit, mange l'huître. Comme ça.
Ouais.
Vous connaissez.
Mais est-ce qu'il y a des gens qui vendent des huîtres un peu le long du chemin? On
Des-
peut voir des trucks, des
Ouais.
camions quoi,
Mhm.
qui vendent des huîtres. Vous pouvez aller à un supermarché, au magasin pour les vendre.
Ouais, vous connaissez.
Ouais. Et ça, c'est tous les jours.
Tous les jours. Maintenant, c'est chaud ça là pour pêcher les huîtres.
Ouais.
C'est plus dans l'hiver.
C'est plus dans l'hiver. Donc, il y a une saison. Vous les pêchez de novembre
Là qui commence septembre jusqu'au mois d'avril.
Jusqu'au mois d'avril. Et après ça, c'est pas bon.
Non, là, il travaille toujours.
Oui.
Mais là, il travaille pas.
Et,
Il va passer, ouais. Il y a plein de skips qui travaillent, il va passer.
et après, c'est fini les huîtres, vous commencez avec des chevrettes.
Ouais.
Chevrettes, des crabes.
Après ça, après les chevrettes, c'est les crabes. Après
Ouais.
les chevrettes encore.
Mais les crabes, c'est proche toute l'année, ça.
Les crabes.
Oui.
Oui, cette saison-là finit pas. Hein.
Ouais.
Les chevrettes finissent. La fête d'huître, si c'est state reef, il faut que ça arrête de pêcher. Mais là, reste quand les reef pour semaine, mais c'est pas pêcher toute l'année.
Pour les chevrettes et les huîtres, est-ce qu'il faut avoir un permis,
Une licence.
une licence pour les pêcher?
Ouais.
Pour les crabes, non.
Pour les crabes et tout.
Crabes.
Pour les crabes et tout?
Ouais.
Ça prend un bateau pour une licence pour le bateau, ça prend une licence pour l'homme, ça prend une licence pour les crabes. Pour comment ça te prend? Hein? Non, les huîtres, c'est harvester,
The horse,
commercial, dredge,
commercial.
et vessel.
Vessel.
4 licences.
Et ça fait combien? Tout ça?